tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, Episode 7. That's right, folks. We've made it to the magical number 7 episode that says we are a podcasting success. And really what it says is that we haven't gotten bored of talking, and evidently you haven't gotten bored of listening.
I feel like Pinocchio. Like, I'm a real boy. That's kind of what I got.
Of course, we're making like really wild, rash assumptions that people are actually listening. All it really says is we've recorded 7 podcasts and thrown them out there.
Yeah, no one's listened at all, and we're trudging forward stupidly.
We do get that little tick of traffic on the website that says there's something happening every time we release one, like at least 3 or 4 people, maybe.
That's the federal government checking up on me. Nothing more.
We have no idea because the way that our podcast venues record and analyze data, well, they basically don't. Stitcher, they keep really good logs of that stuff, but nobody's using Stitcher to download it. Google Play intentionally hazes your results. So if there's 20 downloads, it might report it as 11, it might report it as 30.
Yeah.
And they do that in the name of privacy, although I don't know.
Your numbers are not your own.
Yeah, it's our podcast. We'd like to know. And iTunes just doesn't keep track of anything. So that brings me around to a point. We'd really, really like your feedback. If you're listening to this and you're interested in what we're doing, we want this to be your podcast. We want this to be a reflection of what's going on in the off-road, ATV, UTV, dirt bike world. And the only way we can really do that is if you give us feedback. So if you're listening on iTunes, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're doing any of that kind of stuff, we'd really like to hear from you. So if you would not mind taking the time, give us a review of the show, what you think we're doing well, what we could improve on, what kind of subject matter you'd like to hear. It's only going to make the show better the more that you're involved. So I guess that's our long-winded way of saying we really would like this to be your podcast as much as it is ours. And we don't have any valid way of deciding who's listening or who's not. For all we know, we are talking to ourselves.
Yeah. I don't think we are because people,
My wife has listened.
My wife still doesn't listen. My kids enjoy listening when my daughter will ask, well, can we listen to the latest podcast when we're driving? But she only gets to listen to it basically when she's with me. So
that's about it.
Yep. There's like 2 or 3, 4 people. That's it.
But we do thank you for coming back one more time, and we've got a lot of news we want to get to you tonight. I'm going to start this off by saying we've already done this podcast. This is like Groundhog Day.
That sounds very strange, but I will explain it because it's very possibly my fault. I'm sinking in my seat in shame. So for those of you, we're in Indiana. It's very cold here right now. I mean, it's
raining cats and dogs outside, and it's in the high 30s.
Yeah, it's cold.
And
we're in Doug's pole barn, and as you can see behind me, there's no insulation on the walls. It's cold in here as well as outside. And so we got little space heater like around us. Well, we both had them until I plugged mine in, and apparently it took out the circuit that the soundboard was on, so we recorded an entire episode without the sound coming through at all.
So I look at the recording and I'm thinking, holy moly, how far back? Like maybe we can just, if it's halfway through, we can just kind of find out where we were and pick it up and salvage it. No, it was from second 0.
Yeah, it blew. And I want to tell you guys, because I thought about this.
And we tested the soundboard. It's not like we didn't test it. Everything was working beautifully.
I wanted to tell you guys, because a lot of people probably don't know this, because most shows are pieced together. We do these in one shot. There is 0 editing, like... We trim the front off to the point we start talking. We trim the end off at where we stop talking, and that's what you get.
We put the music on, and that's it.
Yeah,
is that why they're so terrible?
Possibly, but I mean, we want to give you guys like the authentic of this is what we really talk like. This is like the cadence at which we talk. This is how it is. So no, I mean, we do these in one shot. This is how it is. And we did the entire shot with absolutely zero audio captured, and it's all my fault because I was cold.
So we're going to try this again, and this podcast is going to be a little shorter than the last one because he's got stuff to do back at home. My son's got finals tomorrow, and I need to help him study for math. Like, we've got all this other junk going on, so we're going to try and condense this one a little bit, but we've got a lot of really exciting stuff happening.
He doesn't need math. Look at me. I've made it.
So he really, really needs math. Look at him. He needs it. So we're going to kind of condense this one down. It may be a little quicker paced than the last one, but we've got a lot of information to pass, and we're really excited about what's happening here at Eminent Performance. So I'm going to apologize up front for this sounding like one giant commercial. We're not going to be talking as much about other things in the off-road world. It's going to be a little bit more about what's going on with us. But just think of this as like that preview podcast for the next 2 months, because realistically, we're going to be rolling one of these out probably once a week through the end of the year. I know originally we talked about, hey, let's just do them once a month and maybe once every other week. And we've been averaging 3 a month.
Yeah, right at it anyway.
And we're probably going to do one every week from here on out because there's that much stuff happening and we've got that much stuff to talk about. We've got a guest list, 6 or 7 people deep that want to be on the show.
Yeah, at least.
Which is amazing to me that people want to be on the show that badly, but it's a good problem to have when you're trying to fill airspace.
Obviously, they haven't listened to the show.
But the first thing we were going to talk about that we already have, so I feel like I should have called this Eminent Performance, Eminent Waste of Time 7.5 or
7.1.
7.1, 7 Mark II, something like that. But anyways, if you look behind us, you can see we've got our beautiful Eminent Performance LED sign that's out of focus because the camera is looking at us and it's not looking 30 feet that way. But you can see the colors. And those other blurry bumps on the workbench there are tools like cutoff saws and bench grinders and
tube benders
and tube benders and all that kind of stuff. So if you've been following our Facebook feed or if you've been following TGM Off-Road, you will know that we already have a prototype heavy-duty tie rod for the Yamaha Viking and Wolverine machines. They are the same tie rod. You can take one off a Viking and throw it on a Wolverine. It works just fine. But that also means they have the same weak points and the same places they want to bend. And for some of you trail riders out there who are harder on your machines, or if you're just running bigger tires, if you're going up from stock tires and you're running 30-inch tires, or maybe you got portals and you're running really big stuff.
I know some guys running 35s, 36s, big ones.
You want beefier steering components. You have to have beefier steering components. There's no two ways about it. And that's what we're looking to do. There's not really a good supplier out there for heavy-duty tie rods. And if you haven't guessed by now, or from the not-so-subtle hints on the previous podcasts, we're transitioning Eminent Performance from just a racing team into an aftermarket parts supplier. And the main reason we're doing that is because we want to be more involved in the off-roading world. We want to give back to the community. We want to make some really stellar parts that we can feel good about putting our name on. And we want to take some of that. We are doing this for profit. This isn't just we're going to make them for $50 and sell them for $50 plus shipping. This is something that we want to generate money for a couple of reasons. First, we want to be able to put that money into R&D for new products because we've got about 5 or 6 things in the pipeline that we want to hash out and make sure that we have adequate time to do testing and make a really outstanding product, and that takes cash. And our wives are only so understanding with us dumping money into this.
Yeah, my wife is not thrilled with me. Like, no. I sent Doug a message today because I went and picked up some more things. I'm like, well, there goes another $400 and something dollars. I mean,
welding gas, folks. I mean, 2 bottles and some welding gas, $400.
It was like 450 or something like that. And that's like the 3rd time this week I've done that. I mean, new TIG torch and foot control. New welder, new cutoff saw, new tube bender, new grinder, new disc sanders.
And this definitely is not a boo-hoo, look at us and the money we're spending, because I don't have as much as you do, but I've got money in this game too. It's because we're just letting you know we're tooling up to build some really great stuff for you guys, and we're really excited about what we've got coming out. And these tie rods are just the first in a long line of products we're hoping that you're going to be really, really happy with. So that's what's happening. We are starting that now. We're in the pole barn. We're getting tooled up. We have 2 sets built. Mm-hmm. We're going to try out a set on his dad's Wolverine.
Yep.
And then we've got another set going to Rob down at TGM Off-Road for his Viking, because the Wolverine is basically bone stock.
It is bone stock. I mean, it's the special edition one, but it's stock tire, stock motor, stock everything.
Shocks, everything.
Yeah, nothing changed on it. And Rob's, as you guys know, if you guys follow TGM, is anything but stock. He is running 30s. He is, it's lifted. It's all this stuff. Now, the tie rods are exactly the same, will interchange between each other. So that's not the problem. It's not seeing if they'll fit. It's that, okay, what are they going to do on a stock bike? What are they going to do on a full modified bike? We want to test the full gamut from, mild to wild, basically.
And we don't want to sell you anything that we would not put on one of our machines, and we don't want to sell you anything that we don't 110% stand behind. And we were talking earlier, one of the common complaints about aftermarket heavy-duty tie rods is you're going to blow up your rack because that's the next weakest point. And we'll address that in a minute, but our hope is yes, you will blow up your rack, that our tie rods will hold up to the point where that is the weak point and you will smash that thing because they're that well made. That is our goal. We don't want to turn out anything that is somehow inferior or does not live up to expectations.
Yeah. Now, I'll address the rack thing because really I think that comment is most of the people that make that comment are people that are trying to basically intimidate you or, get you to fear buying something because it'll hurt something else. The way I explain it is, let's pretend your stock tie rods on your Viking or Wolverine can take 5 hit points of damage to video
Pretend
games.
it's a Pokemon card.
Yeah, I never did that. I'm saying video game stuff, but whatever. They can take 5 hit points of damage. Well, your steering rack is going to take like 20. I mean, it's multiplied damage. It can handle it much, much better. So a hit of 5 or 7, where these are all fictitious and not real numbers at all, obviously. But you bump a tree or something where it would have ended your ride. Now you just back away from that tree and you drive on, and your weekend, your ride, your whatever, your whole week, if you're off on a vacation or something, is now saved. And that's the point of what we're trying to do. Your rack is going to hold up much, much better to damage than the tie rods ever would. And those factory tie rods, I ordered a brand new one when I was getting ready to start building this. Yamaha factory one, because I wanted the specs dead on with like length and everything else that we needed to hit. And dude, those factory tie rods are junk. I would have never imagined that they would sell something like that. You can take them. The outer is the real bad part. The rod's kind of weak. The inner tie rod is actually not that bad, but it's just attached to the rod, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you take that outer and you shake it, and it just rattles. It's horrible.
Yeah, the Heim joints are very weak on that outer end, like you said.
Those aren't Heims. Those are ball and socket.
Joint. Yeah, ball and socket. That's what I meant to say. But they do. They rattle. They're very, very loose, and the parts that we're going to be sourcing will tighten that up. So our hope is when we're testing these, that these not only are more durable, but that they actually improve steering feel.
Yeah. And I'm also building them in a way, and we'll talk about this, or I'll have documentation on this and all this, so that they are rebuildable. I don't suspect that you're going to wear out a Heim joint. I mean, it's going to take years, like longer than it would take for you to wear out a normal tie rod end. But it's a serviceable part that you buy. I mean, you can buy it through us. I don't care if you buy it elsewhere at that point. I mean, I would like for you to buy it through us, but if you need it and it's local and you can get it from a Granger or a Fastenal or something like that, it's a serviceable part that you take, you unscrew, and you screw the new part on, and you're good and you're done. I mean, whereas you just can't always get a tie rod end for a Yamaha, Wolverine, wherever you are.
Exactly.
And they're built with the high quality parts. I mean, I'm not going to get into the full specs and details, but we're talking about like DOM tube. We're not using welded seam tube. I mean, and it's taken me a little bit of searching to find the stuff that I want. I don't want welded seam tube. Would it hold up? Probably. I mean, I don't think it would be a problem. But for the extra like couple dollars more that it's going to cost us to make it, I would rather put the absolute best parts in it that I can get my hands on, so that you guys don't open it up and be like, oh, they just used welded seam tube, and I don't know if that's really going to hold up. No, I want to put a DOM 120 wall. Could we go with like 090 wall? Yeah, would it be okay? Probably. But what happens if it's not? I want the best stuff for you guys, and we're not charging a fortune for it either. We're going to be. The stupid thing is I'm not releasing price yet. I'm not going to tell you guys until we get it all sorted out and done. But the price for 2 tie rods from Yamaha factory is more than what we'll charge for our 2 tie rods, which will last eons longer.
If you break them, you also broke an AR.
Yeah, you probably ripped off suspension.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch more parts in the hopper that we want to produce, and some other things that aren't just performance parts. They're just things that are going to make your life on the trail a lot easier and a lot nicer. And as we have permanent designs and are ready to release those, we'll definitely let you know what's going on. We got to keep moving here because we've got a bunch of other stuff that we want to talk about. This weekend, we are going up to Kalamazoo, Michigan on our first ever Eminent Performance business trip.
Do I have to wear a suit?
No.
Sweet.
Have you ever worn a suit?
Yes.
Well, you got married.
Yeah. That was a tux, though. It's different.
Okay.
Funeral. I've worn one to a funeral.
Yeah.
Nobody's dying, are they?
No, I hope not.
Okay, good.
Okay.
No suit. Yes.
No suit. No, what we are doing, we're heading up to Harold Ziegler Power Sports up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the name, Harold Ziegler is one of the largest dealership networks in the United States. They have car dealerships of basically every brand you can think of spread across multiple states. They decided to leverage some of their success and build basically the biggest, baddest off-road store that the world has ever seen. So it has I want to say it's a 225,000 plus square foot showroom floor that is multiple stories tall. So think like Cabela's or
Bass Pro
like a
shops.
really nice Bass Pro or something. You walk in and just go, whoa, that type of showroom. There's restaurants there. You can eat while you're on the site. And the other thing they have that almost nobody else has is they have almost 4 miles of track on campus that you can try out a new buggy while you're there. If you send your buggy in to have a bunch of work done, let's say you've got your 400EX, or let's go a little newer. Let's say you got your Honda 450 quad.
There you go.
And you got really nice like Fox Podium shocks put on there or something along those lines, and you want to see the difference. You ride the track before they work on your machine. They do all their tweaks and upgrades, and then when you go to pick it up, you ride it again. And
Yep.
you get to know exactly what the difference is like because you just rode that same exact track, and nobody else is really doing that. So it is an outstanding store. It just opened this year, and I'm really excited to get up there and see it and to be able to bring that to you. We're also going to be doing an interview with one of the track managers, so we'll get the inside scoop of kind of the story of the place and what they've got going on there. We're going to be doing some Facebook Live stuff to kind of whet your appetite for the next podcast that's coming out. Plus, you'll be able to see a little more of what's going on the campus there, in the store, out on the track. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, it really should be a lot of fun. I am really excited about this one. It all kind of came about when Doug showed me this place online, and I was like, ooh, when we were talking, I was like, we should try and do a show from there. And we were hoping just for the, you got like a folding card table we can put in the corner of like your employee break room, and we can do the show from there. And maybe if someone's around, we could interview them. And it turned into like this, hey, why don't you guys come out to this, like a members only or a by invitation only is what they said, I guess. It's by invitation only track closing day, and that's what this is. It's a big event for them.
Yeah, end of the race season. Again, November here. You can imagine what November in Michigan is like. It's the end of the season.
Yeah.
But they've invited us up there to this. It's basically a members only type of event. And we are going to have kind of exclusive access to that, which is, they've just gone above and beyond to be very gracious to us, to make us feel welcome. They've said that they're very excited about the podcast and what we're doing. And we just feel really fortunate to be a part of that and to be able to experience kind of a big event up there. And in a way, it feels like we've made it. Episode 7, that'll be episode 8, that'll be released on November 10th. We haven't made it by any stretch, but to be able to do things like this and bring that kind of information and that kind of excitement to you guys is really what this podcast is all about. We don't want it to be just us sitting here in my barn talking.
Yeah.
We want to do some neat stuff that brings you off-roading experiences. Maybe you're across the country and we'll never get a chance to stop. At least you'll be able to kind of experience it that way. So really, really fortunate that we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah. We're hoping, at least if the weather cooperates, that they're going to give us a ride around the track. I'm really hoping for an X3. Like, I don't even care if I drive it. I want to, but I don't even care that much. I just want to ride.
I'm going to try and get a hold of him to see if I can set that up for you. Because I've been the one working with him. I called, I called them up, and well, basically the first contact was just through the internet, through the web. I said, hey, we've been discussing this, and we'd really like to do a show from the location. And I didn't think it was going anywhere. I mean, back when I had the idea, I knew it was. I felt like it was a long shot because at the time we only had one episode in the books.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing. We still don't. But
does it look like we know what we're doing?
All of a sudden, it just, like I said, they opened up the gates and just really were very gracious. And we are super excited and very grateful to have this opportunity to go up there this weekend and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm excited. I hope it does them some good, too. I hope it gets them some exposure that, maybe they weren't getting before. So
yeah,
it'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to this.
Who'd have thought? We've made it. We've arrived.
We've arrived in your pole barn.
And it's cold out here.
It is very cold.
We got our one space heater, though, that has not kicked the board off. I'm watching levels. It's still there. We're good. So we're going to keep going. Another exciting thing we've got coming up is the Performance Racing Industry Show in Indianapolis. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, every December, it's usually the first weekend in December, the PRI show comes to it's not Lucas Oil.
It's the Indianapolis Convention Center.
There we go.
And it's not just like, it's the regional one. This is the performance racing industry show for the entire country, and it's just always held in Indianapolis. Now, we happen to be close.
And there's a little racing pedigree in Indianapolis, I think. They got some little track that they've run a couple races on, I think.
Yeah, they drive around a big circle, I think.
Yeah,
maybe. It's not real. You guys probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah, we won't bore you with the details, but for some reason they host it here in Indianapolis, and we live 40 minutes away. So
that's convenient.
And I work in Indy. I drive there every day, so this is perfect.
Yeah.
So we are now, the PRI show is not open to the general public. You have to be a member of a race team, a part supplier to a race team. You have to be somehow affiliated with the racing industry. They won't give you credentials to get in if you just walk in off the street. So again, we decided to just throw the fishing pole out there and see what bit, and thought, well, we have a website, we have a podcast, we have a small following, but a following on Facebook. Like, we've got some of the stuff that makes us look legitimate.
Well, and we do have a legitimate race team. I mean,
yeah, we've been racing.
We have a race buggy. We can show you finishes. I mean,
and we're talking about building parts now. I mean, we're doing the stuff they want to see. So
it's not on grand scale. I understand that, but
no,
I mean, it's
real.
Something. Yeah.
And so Chad thought, I'd talk to him about maybe we should try and get the PRI show. I said, maybe after we start making parts or maybe get a little further into it. Chad, as always, took the football and ran a couple days ago and just said, you know what, we're going to try this. The worst they can say is no. Within 2 hours, they got back to us and said, we're shipping you credentials to get into the show.
Yeah, and they do legitimate checks on everyone's credentials. It's not like, oh, someone applied and it says blah, blah, blah racing. No, like, you have to submit a business card showing it. You have to have a business address. They want your website if you have one, and they have people that check on it. It's not like something is in that field that they ask you to fill out online. Yeah. Surely, just let them in. No, I mean, they legitimately do check everything.
So we were as shocked as probably you are that we're getting in. We're really excited to be a part of this, to be able to go to PRI. I've heard of the show before. I've always thought, man, it'd be really cool to get in there because I know some of the people that are going to be there, some of the teams that are going to be there, that kind of stuff. But really, above and beyond all that, what we're really going for is a way to connect with suppliers so that we can make parts more affordably so we can pass that savings on to you. We're looking for Heim joints and ball and socket joints. We're looking for the weld-in bungs that we need to make tie rods. We're looking for the types of supplies we're going to need to keep making the parts that we've got in the design pipeline. And this is going to be a good place to do that.
Yeah.
And while this show is very heavy into street racing and drag racing and that sort of stuff, there's a big off-road presence there as well.
There is. And when we say we want to make it cheaper and more affordable, I don't want to sacrifice quality for it either.
No,
so,
we just don't want to pay retail pricing as a manufacturer.
Yeah. And right now, I mean, that's what we're stuck doing. I have no other contacts to, here's a manufacturer of tie rods. It's like, well, here's a reseller not of tie rods, of Heim joints. And all I can find is, well, here's a reseller of Heim joints. And there's this vast swing in pricing and quality and everything else. And so I'm doing my best to try and, vet these out and source them. But I want to go and I want to put my hands on supplier A's Heim joint, we'll take for example, and, walk 4 booths down and put my hands on supplier B's Heim joints and say, I like B's Heim joints better. What pricing can you give me if I buy X number at a time?
Right.
Because I want to buy in bulk. I want to get you guys the best part. I want to get you guys the best price we can. That's just how it is.
And I also won't lie, a big impetus for this, we've said it several times, this show is in some ways an homage to the Kibbe and Finnegan show. Now, Mike Finnegan, if you haven't watched Roadkill, go watch Roadkill. You'll find out all you want to know about Mike Finnegan. He's going to be there along with his very famous now... Blasphemy. His 55 Chevy Gasser that is just an awesome-looking car. And the really neat part is the car is about 5 years old now, about 4 years old. The entire existence of that car, it has just had a vinyl wrap on it that over time, through driving it and racing it, has gotten pretty tattered. It's got an actual paint job now, and it's got a lot of gold involved in the paint job.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And this is going to be the unveiling of the new Blasphemy version 2.0.
Yep.
So I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty excited about going to see that as well.
Yeah, that'll be neat. We're just excited that we get to go and we get to be involved in things like this, and then we get to. Yes, we're going for suppliers, but we're also going, and then we're going to look at the new things that are out for the off-road industry. Because I would speculate that it's about 1/3 off-road stuff, or at least things that apply to the off-road world, and the rest is road racing of some variety. But then we can see these new things that are coming out. We can bring them to you guys, and this is like stuff that you will have not seen yet.
Yeah.
This is the SEMA of racing.
Yeah, because SEMA is everything automotive. It's, classic car restoration, and it's so
fuzzy
huge
dice and neon and
yeah, if it's related to cars in any form or fashion, this is really focused around the racing industry, which is more what we're interested in. So it's a huge opportunity. We're really excited that we have access to something like this so close to home, and that we have legitimized ourselves enough to fool people into letting us in.
Yeah.
But honestly, we've put a lot of work into what we've done over the past calendar year. I mean, we joke about it, but honestly, I'm really proud of how quickly we've moved on some things. I mean, I've uprooted my family and moved them down here to make sure that Eminent Performance moves forward. So, and
for those of you guys, and Doug doesn't know this yet either, like that, I'm not going to say it terrifies me, but for me as a person, my friend has uprooted his family and moved them 3 hours to here, not just for this, but it was a major part of it.
It was about half of the decision.
And I'm like, if I mess this up, what have I done?
But see, that's my part of the job. I've got some building skills, and I'm not a total idiot in the garage, but
right.
You really have the background in fabrication and more in-depth understanding of that. I know enough to sanity check you on things. No, that's a terrible idea, or hey, that's an awesome idea, go for it.
Yeah.
But part of me is going to be running the business side of it so that you can focus on what you do best.
Yeah. I engineer and design and fabricate. That's what I do. And you guys have no idea, and it's not just since we've started doing things. And my wife, she would tell you the same thing. I lay awake at night, and I'm dreaming of parts and how to make things. And my wife is always saying, why can't you just leave it alone? Why do you have to always have a project? Why are you always doing something with something? And it's just how I'm wired. I always have to be building something and fixing something and building a better mousetrap, if you will. So
and see, my job is to focus and guide that. But honestly, if we fail, we fail together. It's not going to be either or.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about what we've got coming up. And again, this isn't like we've quit our jobs and we're doing this full time, so you guys better start buying stuff.
I need food.
We're going to take this slow, and we're going to build parts that we're proud of, and we're going to let you be the judges of whether we're successful, because we feel like if we put our heart and soul into a product and it's something we stand behind 110%, that you'll respond. And a lot of the focus of this is not just, well, none of the focus of this is fame and fortune. The focus of this is to be involved in the off-road community. We want to give back to you guys. We want to take some of this money that we're going to be making off of these and put it into sponsored rides, into giveaways. We want to invest money back into the off-roading community, and that's a big part of why we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just saw that we did a giveaway not long ago of some Rocky Mountain ATV gift cards. Like, people think that we're making money. Like I told Doug, that's just money out of my pocket that I am just giving away.
We're spending money hand over fist. Chad more so than me, because I just bought a house and I'm trying to put it back together.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. I mean, it's like I sent Doug a text today because I stopped to pick up some welding bottles and
you can see them actually right between us, right behind us. There we go.
I told Doug, well, there goes another like $450, and that's like the third time this week I've done that. Dear Lord, please don't let my wife be listening.
Good thing you said she's not.
Sweet. So, no, but I mean, it's like there's chop saws and there's welders to buy and new TIG torches to buy. And there's, 2 different kinds of gases that you have to buy for MIG and for TIG. And then everything else that's just needed to do this.
To get started.
I mean, if I was just going to build like a few sets of tie rods or whatever, I'd go do it in the family body shop.
Yeah.
I'd use the gas there and the welder there, and I'd just pay for the gas and the wire, whatever that I use, even if I had to buy a TIG gun for that. I'd just do that. But really, we're gearing up for the long haul. We're gearing up to build parts that we're proud of, like Doug was saying. And really, what I want you guys to do that are listening to this, man, tell me with the parts that you want. Like, if you have an idea, and we have more things in the pipe, I am by far from out of things to do.
Right.
I mean, I got 6 months worth of work ahead of me, but
we're interested in your feedback and what you want to see as well. And of course, we're going to look at it from a perspective of, does that make any sense, and what's our return on investment? If it's just some wild pipe dream, we may have to tell you no. But if your voice is going to be heard, and if there's other voices that agree with you, there's a hole in the market here that nobody's filling, we're going to take a look at that. And
that's really, we had other things that we were going to do ahead of the tie rods, but Rob was, I'm not going to say pestering, but he was pestering. He was pestering me. He's like, you need to build these. You need to build these. And I got to looking, and really there is no other company that's doing it and doing it right. I mean, I got a set of tie rods, heavy-duty tie rods for my race bike, and the guy couldn't build them to save his soul. And he is, I'm not going to mention the name here, and if you go look at our post, you'll find it and everything. But I got 2 sets from him. Neither set was right, and I had to modify them to make them work. There is no way, I'm going to pretend that you guys bought a set of my tie rods. There is no way you should have to modify my tie rods to make them fit your bike. It should not happen.
No.
That's unheard of.
So that's what we're looking at. We just want to produce high-quality parts, make a fair profit off of them so that we can invest in the next thing in the pipeline, so that we can get a portfolio of products going that we can pass on to you guys. And like I said, sponsor some rides, have some fun, and give back to the community. This is not going to be a full-time job unless things really, really blow up scary fast. And even then, I don't think it will be. Our goal here is to be involved in the off-road community, and we want to give back, and we want to build what you guys need. And that's really the goal behind Eminent Performance, is to build parts that you guys need and to build parts that we can be proud of.
Yep.
Plain and simple. I mean, that's going to be our 2 goals.
Yep. So real quick, we'll hit one of the other things that we had. One of the other, he was a listener or viewer, depending if you watched it on YouTube or if it was on...
Yes. What do we think of the Polaris General?
So I'll give my opinion first, and then Doug will go. But I actually like the General. I have ridden very briefly in one, and it was a very brief ride. But I kind of put it akin to the Yamaha Wolverine, but with the motor that everyone wants. Like, everyone wishes the Wolverine had a bigger motor.
This does.
And this has it. It's got 1,000 cc. Now, it's not the biggest, baddest 1,000 cc motor out there, but it's got plenty of grunt to it. It's got nice doors on it. The fit and finish seems really good. The suspension rides well. You can take it out on the trails and ride and have a ton of fun with it. Now, I mean, you're not going to hit the dunes and the big whoops, and it's not just going to soak it up like a big full-on sport machine, but then you can take it home and work with it and everything else and do some utility with it that you just can't do with the other machines. If you're looking for that good mix of machine between sport and utility, I really don't know of a better one out there right now.
I really do think that's the beauty of it, like you said, is that mix of utility and sport. You can run fast in it through the woods, but you can bring it home and hook up a trailer to it and drag firewood around your property or whatever else you need to do with it. And if you've only got money for one machine, it's really going to do everything that you want it to do. The suspension on it, like you said, it's not X3 levels of travel, but it is very comfortable. Polaris has it set up very, very well. And like you, I've ridden in one for a short amount of time. I was really impressed with how it was set up. It was really kind of a comfortable machine for what it was. Overall, I like it.
Yeah.
The fact that you can get it in a 2-door or a 4-door version, you can basically get it configured however you need it. And I'm with Chad. I like the machine. Sell price from a dealer is around the $18,000 mark, and it's affordable for what it is. I mean, it's a big. That's the 4-door version, I should say. You can get the 2-door a lot cheaper than that. But if you're looking for a 4-door do it all with a 1,000cc motor, it's really hard to argue with what the General has going on.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, that's kind of our take on it. I mean, that's an open-ended question, and hey, what's your opinion? Well, I mean, that's our opinion.
If we agree on something, though, that's.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're always at odds, but we do come at things from different perspectives quite a bit.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's just how it is.
So there you go.
So there's one other topic we're going to hit really quick, and then we'll try and wrap it up here in the reasonable near future.
Is this the stupid stuff with Chad?
No, we're doing the one other.
Okay,
we'll get
we're
to
gonna,
that one.
We'll skip that one for the time being because we really do need to wrap this up and get moving. But we want to talk briefly about what we do in the off-road season. And short and sweet, there isn't an off-season. Our last race is on the
mid-November.
Yeah, it's the 11th and 12th.
Yep.
And then the season starts back up basically at the beginning of March. And there's other race series that go later into November and start back into February even. And during the off season, you're fixing the machine and you're deciding where you can reinforce the machine to make it better for next season. And you're going to the riders banquet, an awards banquet type of thing in January.
Yep.
And if you're involved in racing kind of like we have been, where we're not just racing, we're also working. If you're involved in that end of it, especially if you're the race series owner, you're trying to shore up land contracts with landowners to make sure you have places to race, and you're repairing a lot of equipment, and you're buying equipment that you were lacking, and you're basically at a dead run for 2.5 months, and then you start the season over again.
Yeah. And the people that work it are, I ride sweep, as you guys have track sweep. I'm trying, fixing up the quad because the ball joints and the bearings have taken a beating over all this whole time. And if we're doing sound stuff, we're picking up audio equipment and making sure that that's all straightened out, and we were lacking this piece and we were able to secure it over the winter time. There is no off season for racing, and you're trying to let your pocketbook recover if you're racing.
Yeah, you're probably finding side work and trying to bolster your checking account, but that's it. The short answer is there really is not much of an off season. It's just kind of go until you start racing again.
Yeah, people don't really get, I don't think, unless you've raced, you don't really know what the commitment to racing is. I will say I underestimated it. I knew that it was going to be some time, and my wife is giving me grief about the amount of time that it does take. But I mean, as like I was telling Doug, and he knows, the whole week, the nights before the race weekend, I am changing oil, I am checking fluids, I am checking bolts, and like we were talking about with the steering quickener, what you guys don't know that we didn't talk about before was I put that 2-to-1 steering quickener in there, and it was just making the power steering freak out, and we were having to reset it via a switch like constantly, about every 60 seconds, and in the race, under race conditions, I was suspecting we're going to have to do it much sooner.
It just wouldn't have worked.
And when that happens, I have no steering. I mean, I can't steer the machine. When we shut it off and back on, it takes like 2 seconds for it to boot back up. So what you guys didn't know is that I overnighted a steering quickener with a different ratio in, and I had cut my whole steering system apart to make this thing fit. Like, if I couldn't make it work, we were not racing that weekend. So I overnight one in, leave work a little early that day so I can go home, get it, slap it in, and my only test drive on it was literally when I pulled it out of my garage onto the trailer and from the trailer to the start line, and we raced on an unknown steering system completely.
Is that because we tested it out and it didn't quite work like we thought? We had to drop back and punt, so we even had a prayer of racing. So it's a ton of work. We don't want to disparage racing. It's a lot of fun. It's just not all fun, and that's what you have to love it enough to push through the hard stuff, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Oh, it's a ton of fun, and I wouldn't change anything. And my wife is always giving me grief about every time I take it out, I break it and everything else. And maybe I do, but you know what? I'm having a ball. And, it's those times. We had a guy retire from my work, and he'd been at that place at IU for 35 years. And his biggest comment, he said, was, the things that I remember the most were the times of trouble where we all just came together to solve the problem, and we bonded the most then. He said the day in, day out stuff that we always did, everyone was nice. Everyone, enjoyed talking to each other. But the times of trouble when we all banded together, he said those are the times I'll truly remember. And it's the same with racing. I mean, it's the times of trouble that, you remember that your fellow racer pulled over to help you out, and that happens more often than you guys would ever know. I mean, guys give up their entire race for that day, and they've paid money to travel there and entry fees and everything else, and they will give that up to pull over and not finish their race to help someone else out. It truly is an amazing thing. So.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming back for one more episode. Like I said, we've got a lot of really great stuff in the pipe, but we got to shut this one down. We've got other stuff we need to get to, and I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing us. So we want to say a huge thank you to our sponsors, though. Watch Communications, thank you so much for providing our web hosting and the hosting for this podcast. UTV-doors.com. Thank you so much for supplying the doors, the rock sliders, the front and rear bumpers for the race buggy. Your material and the products that you're supplying are just outstanding. Yep. Colby Valve, can't say thank you enough for the valve stems and also for the guidance you've given us, not just racing, but also starting this business up. JS Bull, you've given us some outstanding advice, and we really, really appreciate that. And of course, TGM Off-Road, you've been a steadfast sponsor throughout the whole race series, and you've helped our pocketbooks out by being involved and making sure that we weren't going completely broke, just mostly broke doing this, and we can't say thank you enough for doing that. Yep. So thank you to all of our sponsors. You can find links to their websites if you go to our website at eminentperformance.com. You can find us on Facebook/Eminent Racing, and you can find us on Instagram at Eminent Racing. And of course, the podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and now iHeartRadio is the fourth venue we've just added. Once again, please leave comments, leave feedback, give us a 5-star rating, give us a 1-star rating, whatever you feel about the podcast. We don't care. We just want feedback so we know how we're doing. If you could take the time to do that and leave comments, we would greatly appreciate it. Just be ready, folks. We got a lot of them coming. It's going to be gangbusters from here to the end of the year. But in the meantime, thanks for riding along.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.